Episode 475. Negotiate your AI exit before you enter.
The AI 6 Podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
Governments and organisations spend months negotiating how an AI system will be introduced, but often considerably less time discussing how they will leave it. If your data, knowledge and operations cannot move with you, you may not have bought a solution. You may have bought dependency. Hello and welcome back to AI 6, the podcast that teaches you AI in just 6 minutes a day. At the weekend, we have the long listen. This is episode 2 of my special 5-part series inspired by my experience at the AI for Developing Countries Forum in Geneva. Yesterday in the first episode, I explored why small nations should negotiate with big tech for long-term capability and not simply better prices or short-term discounts. Today, I want to focus on a question that governments and organisations often address too late. How do we leave? AI procurement usually concentrates on implementation. Leaders ask how long the system will take to deploy, how much it will cost, what services are included, and whether it can be integrated with existing technology. But every organisation considering an AI system should also ask what happens if the relationship ends. Can we retrieve our data? Can we move the data into another system? Can our existing technology communicate with a different provider? Will we retain the prompts, the workflows, the configurations, and organisational knowledge created during the partnership? And will our employees understand enough about the system to manage a transition? These are not questions to ask when a contract is about to expire. They should be part of the original negotiation. During the AI for Developing Countries Forum session, Can Small Nations Negotiate with Big Tech?, interoperability emerged as one of the most important sources of negotiating power. Interoperability means that different systems can work together and exchange information. Without it, a government or organisation can become locked into one platform, one technology, ecosystem, or even one provider. The system may work well today, but what happens if the price increases? What happens if the provider changes its terms? What happens if a service is discontinued? What happens if the technology no longer meets the organisation's needs? Or what happens if political, regulatory, or geopolitical circumstances change? If the organisation cannot move its data, connect another system, or transfer what it has built, its freedom to choose has been severely limited. That is why exit planning is not an administrative detail. It really is a strategic consideration. For governments, it's also a question of sovereignty. Public institutions manage information, services, and infrastructure that citizens rely on. They cannot treat continuity as someone else's responsibility. A government must understand where its data is stored, who can access it, what happens to it when a contract ends, and whether public services can continue if the provider changes. It must also understand what happens to the institutional knowledge developed during the project. An organisation can technically own its data while still being dependent on a vendor to understand, organise or use it. Data ownership alone, though, is not enough. The knowledge surrounding the data also matters. That includes the logic used to structure it, the workflows built around it, the decisions made during implementation, and the experience gained by the people operating the system. This is why knowledge transfer must happen throughout a technology partnership. It cannot be reduced to a training session delivered at the end of the contract. Internal teams should participate in the design, testing, implementation, and governance of the system. And as I said during the Geneva discussion, we learn by doing. When employees participate directly, knowledge remains inside the organisation. They learn what the system can do, where it fails, which risks need to be managed, and how it should evolve. And this creates a stronger relationship with the technology provider because the organisation is no longer a passive consumer. It becomes an informed partner. Exit planning does not mean beginning every technology relationship with suspicion. It means beginning with clarity and with discussion. A A strong partnership should be able to answer reasonable questions about portability, interoperability, continuity, and ownership. If a provider cannot explain how an organization can retrieve its data, transfer its workflows, or move to another system, that is not a minor contractual concern. It is a warning that maybe this is not the right partnership. And of course, businesses should apply the same thinking. Many organizations are building valuable intellectual property inside big AI platforms. They are developing custom assistants, prompts, knowledge bases, automated processes, and new ways of working. And leaders need to know whether those assets belong to an organization or remain tied to the platform on which they were created. So, leaders should ask, can we export our information in a usable format? Can another provider understand and use it? Are our workflows documented outside the platform? Do our employees know how the systems work? And have we retained human oversight of important decisions? And could the organization continue operating if this tool disappeared tomorrow? If the answer to those questions is no, the organization may be more dependent than it realizes. So the best time to negotiate your exit is when the provider still wants you to enter. That is when expectations can be documented, responsibilities can be assigned, and the organization's non-negotiables can be protected. AI partnerships will, of course, continue to evolve. Providers will change, models will improve, and new systems will enter the market. Governments and businesses need the freedom to respond. The goal is not to avoid partnership. It is to ensure that partnership does not remove choice. In the next episode of this 5-part AI for Developing Countries series, I will move from technology procurement to the labour market. That's it for today's show. If you're ready to turn these insights into skills, here's how I can help. Get your copy of my book, AI Playbook, on Amazon. It's the perfect companion to the show. For weekly AI strategies, subscribe to my newsletter, Human in the Loop, on LinkedIn. Or if you want to take the next big step, you can take our CPD accredited professional diploma in AI. Maybe you need something more tailored for your organization. You can book a call in my calendar at digitaltraining.ie. Or if you work in government or public sector, go over to publicsectormarketingpros.com. If you found this episode useful, please share it with a pro that you know. And I'd love to read your comments on Spotify. And if you can, take a second to like, rate, or subscribe wherever you listen. It really helps the show. This is AI 6. I'll talk to you on the next episode.